Alright, guys, today we're going to be reacting to Rachel Wilson versus Modern Women debate on fake equality and modern witches. Let's jump in.
Should women be drafted? This is an effort to figure out if you guys are feminist or not. Should women be drafted in the military?
Like, by drafted, do you mean like when you turn 18, like you're automatically?
Okay, yeah. So men have to register for the selective service. Currently, there's not a draft in the United States, but all men in the United States at 18, in order to be able to vote and have other benefits, they have to register for the selective service, which would then make them subject to military conscription in the case that there was a military conflict which required a draft. So do you think women should be subject to selective service draft? Forced?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Okay.
I
Okay.
wouldn't even trust women to like fight for our country unless that's like that's their thing. You know, like if you're like that type of woman that you feel like you're stronger and stuff like that. But I just feel like no.
Okay. What do you think?
Well, hold on. So you think they should be drafted based on how they feel?
No,
About-
I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying if like willingly, if you just want to.
She's saying if they want to
No,
volunteer.
just really
Not a
want to
draft,
volunteer.
though.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
they want to volunteer, yes.
Yeah, but then that just defeats
Which
the
is-
purpose.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
Right. Well, that's what we currently have.
yeah, but I guess we should be drafted because I mean,
Okay. All right.
I mean, plenty of men don't want to join.
okay.
Plenty of men, plenty of men, plenty of women. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
If we gotta do what we gotta do, I mean, yeah.
Now, here's the interesting thing. You guys both have different opinions on this. I still don't know which is actually like the actual feminist position, because we'll have feminists who will argue it's actually, we had one last week with Andrew,
Yeah.
who said, well, it's not equitable. It's not equity for women to be drafted. That's a whole nother thing.
Interesting.
But what about you?
No.
No? Okay.
No, women should not be drafted.
Should not be drafted,
No.
but they should be paid equally in sporting events.
There we
No
go.
comment.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Got on right there.
They shouldn't be drafted?
I don't think so.
Well, hold on.
Okay, so everybody except Anza
Yeah.
said women shouldn't be drafted, but y'all want to be equal? So wait a sec. How are you equal if the men are the ones that have to fight and die to defend the country? The men are the ones that build and maintain all the infrastructure, right? Like none of this stuff in the studio is built or maintained by women. Do you know that like 90% of infrastructure jobs are still held by men? And that if you look at the top 20 jobs held by women now in 2024 versus 1924 are almost the exact same. So women have had 100 years to do whatever they want, and they still do the same 20 jobs they did 100 years ago, other than we switched out farm labor for HR work. But other than that, we're secretaries, nurses, daycare ladies, early childhood education, administrative assistants, retail workers, all the same shit that we were a century ago. So if the men are the ones tasked with every time there's a natural disaster, they have to go out and rescue people from the fires and the floodwaters. And every time there's a war, the men have to go and fight it and defend the country. And anytime there's a criminal who needs to be violently arrested, it's going to be a man who goes and does that, not a woman. Where does the equality come in? If we're doing the fluffy jobs, you know, we're all singers. We got a lot of singers and musicians, which is cool. It's great. I love music too. But y'all ain't like rescuing people and you know, doing the heavy lifting or the dirty or the dangerous jobs. Like who collects the trash? Men. You know, who does all the steel working and oil rig work and all of the like sewer cleaning? Men.
Tower making.
We have a video on this, Rachel, actually. Nick, remember that video we were looking at yesterday? I think it might still be on one of the tabs.
Yeah, I've seen this video multiple times.
Let's watch this. No audio. No audio. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Are you ready to work on an oil rig?
Look at that.
All right.
Wow.
Those
Come
are
on,
s-
feminists, get in there. You
those
can
are
do
some
it.
roughnecks.
Come on,
That's
ladies. Anyone?
definitely
Andrew.
not strong
Andrew
enough
had to
for
do
that.
stuff like that back in the day. They'd lower him
Underwater
into little,
welding, I
not
guess.
not
Or-
underwater, but they would lower him into these tiny little horrifically frightening spaces to do extremely dangerous stuff.
I'm claustrophobic.
I really feel like
Yeah.
women should just have the choice to do if they want to, because I know some women that can handle it.
No,
They do
yeah.
have the choice in their
No,
No, of
They
course.
do, and they're
No, of course you know them. Of course you know them. They're everywhere. Yeah. Oh yes, of course they're everywhere. They're everywhere, folks. They're everywhere. and they pay very well. You know.
They're not doing it.
They
That's
don't
fine.
want to.
Well, I
this
mean,
is, this
that's
is the
fine.
big secret,
Yeah.
right? Is that women don't want to do any of this dirty,
So-
dangerous, scary stuff. They don't want to.
Well, yeah, but is that
Look at
just
that.
you know what
That's
we've been raised
crazy.
with the culture?
Climbing.
No, and I have data to back this up. So
Okay.
if you
Oh, is there more, Nick? Just let it play.
Yeah, we'll just
Well,
let
that's
it play.
crazy. Look at that.
So, back around the time of suffrage, we're talking like 1850s to 1920, roughly around there when the big suffrage movement was happening. Did you guys know that most women were completely against it? By all of the referendums that they would do where they would let women vote on whether they wanted to vote, only about 4% actually had any interest in voting. And they actually had really good reasons for this. There was much higher membership in anti-suffrage groups than pro-suffrage groups. And these groups would do public debates. They would do written debates, newspaper periodicals where they would go back and forth and debate these things. And the women who were against suffrage said, look, the primary purpose of government is to protect persons and property, okay? Why task women with that when we're not really capable of doing that, okay? We don't want to have to be drafted. We don't want to have to do jury duty. We don't want to have to be a political bloc because back then women had advocacy groups for things they wanted, but they weren't a lobbying group. They didn't have like voting rights, so they weren't able to be as easily politicized. They felt like they had a moral high ground to ask for things like, we need more parks, we need better schools, we need clean air, whatever it was. And that if they became just another voting bloc, they would be involved in dirty politics, and they didn't want to do that. They felt like...
But they did it. It's like, I don't want pizza, but just don't leave it around. Don't leave it around because, listen, I don't want pizza, but then all of a sudden you end up eating the pizza. You tell everybody, hey, don't bring the pizza. You know, I'm in a diet. I'm not going to go eat pizza. But, you know, if you leave it right there in the corner, you know, it doesn't bother me kind of thing because, you know, I can get a slot. It's like they don't want it, but they want it. I mean, that's why it doesn't make sense to me.
Somebody has to be morally neutral and not involved in politics. So, given all of that, do you guys think that women can protect and defend persons and property?
Sure.
Okay,
I mean,
how?
well, first of all, I want to go back to the fact that for a long time, women weren't allowed to own property, or at least not without being married. And so,
Actually, it was the opposite. It was once you got married, you generally, whatever belonged to you belonged to your
sure, but
husband, same
then
thing.
usually the woman is still living with the family.
Right,
and
but why would you? So think about
Yeah.
why.
Why would you wanna live on your own?
Why do you think women didn't own property?
Well,
Do you think it was just the patriarchy, like just
No, I'm
hated
not
the
saying
women
that.
and
I'm
they
not
just
saying
wanted
that.
to put their boot on their neck and keep them down?
I
or-
generally don't think that.
Okay, what do you think?
I generally think it was just a matter of the times. Like, you know, because it was, I mean,
So do you think there was a reason though? Do you think there was a logic behind not letting?
I think it
women own
worked for
property?
back then. I think it worked for what it is at that point in time.
Yeah,
No,
she's not
I
answering.
don't think you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if you're a woman
Yeah.
and you own land and it's 1802,
Mm-hmm.
and bandits or cattle robbers or Indians come and they say, we're taking your land,
Yeah.
what are you going to do about it?
But that's exactly my point. That worked for that time.
Okay, what's
No, no.
different now?
We don't have that as much. I mean, it depends on the neighborhood, of course. I mean, it depends on the community.
Okay,
et
so
cetera.
if you own land now in 2024 and you have a squatter who comes and squats on your property and you need them removed,
I did
do
that.
you call
Oh,
ladies
okay.
to come and physically remove them, or are there men who come and physically remove them?
So I had a subleaser who I needed to get rid of, and I did all of it.
I think we reacted to this video already. And she's just, one of those women, man, that, oh.
Okay, so you think we could put women on all the oil rigs, and we could put women in the Senate, we could put women in the military as generals, we could make them sheriffs, and that would work out fine?
Yeah.
You think so? Okay,
I
so-
mean, well, here's the thing. I mean,
That's crazy.
I mean, okay. For example,
Delusional.
I remember watching this one show. I think it was called Stars and Stripes, and it took a bunch of celebrities and put them in the position of military. It had men and it had women. The person who ended up winning was the skier Peekaboo Streets, and she was a woman. She beat out actually Sarah Palin.
that guy?
She ended up beating out like Sarah Palin's husband, and
This is a reality
Wait,
show?
Where's this? Where is this?
Well, for example, she ended up winning. She was in, but they were all put in position of military, and she ended up winning. It was a woman.
Therefore, because that show, she won. Therefore, women should be in power. This is where she's going with it, folks. This is where she's going. This is her argument to say because that show, that's evidence that show women can lead government, they can lead the military, they can lead the oil rigs, they can lead everything. It's delusional.
So, do you think that men and women are the same?
I don't think they're the same. I don't. Again, I think physically there are differences.
Okay. Just physically, though? Like, you don't think that men have certain strengths and women have certain strengths, and they each have, like, different divinely appointed roles in existence?
Well, I mean, I'm an atheist, personally.
Okay. Okay, do you think that they have appointed roles in society in order for society to be mostly successful?
I think that's how it's come to be.
So, can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
Do you think that women are happier today, or do you think that they were happier before all of this stuff?
I
That's a good
think,
question.
Because it's proven that women
Well-
are way less happier today.
okay, but is that just the stats we're looking at now, as in, like, those are the stats we're taking?
That's just ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, because, I mean, for example, like, people like to make the argument that
Wow, the one-liners, I guess. The one-liners are, just a mic drop, I guess. What the hell was that?
we're seeing a rise in autism. Okay, is it the fact that there's a rise in autism, or did we just not take into account
she's
the
trying
fact
to
that
say.
we didn't know what it was before?
Well, so
Well, I think people know
I
what
can actually
happiness was.
explain this because it's like my area of specialty.
Sure.
There's surveys that were done, like very large scale surveys that were done in the 70s, and then again in the 90s, and then again in the early 2000s. So the first one that came out was called The Paradox of Female Happiness, where when they surveyed women all over the West and asked them if they were what their satisfaction levels were, a ton of different metrics were used. In the 70s, pretty good, pretty happy, not a lot wrong. By the time we get to the 90s and they repeat the survey, women are declining in happiness in the places that they have the most
Super delusional.
freedom, the most egalitarian societies. So the places where women have the most equality are the places where we see them not only reporting that they have higher levels of unhappiness, but also we see a rise in alcoholism, fetal alcohol syndrome, depression, anxiety, prescription drug use. Every metric they look at, women are reporting that they are less happy. Now, there's a lot of reasons we can talk about why that might be.
Sure.
But I think people don't understand that when women are trying to be equal, it makes life pretty impossible. You end up thinking you can have it all, do it all, be it all. Your expectations are wildly high, and you expect that you're going to be able to have a husband and a family and a career and do whatever you want, but also have a man who's going to take care of stuff. And these things all contradict each other. These things do not mesh together well. On top of that, women are more emotionally volatile. We have a hormonal cycle every month that fluctuates. We have pre-menopause, we have postpartum, we have a lot of ups and downs
Okay,
that men
and
don't have.
why does that make us more emotional? Because and I'm genuinely
Because
asking.
of the literal hormone in
Well,
your
hold
body.
on. I know. But, I mean, for example, let's look at, history here. So much war has been caused by men.
Well, I have something for this actually.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they looked at monarchs, for example, kings and queens, and they actually found that queens were just as or even more likely to wage war than kings.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing. I think there's some real messed up.
So why bring in the point? She thought that was a gotcha question. That's why she brought it. That was a stupid question.
Women in history too, truly.
No, but they did an analysis here. I'm not just saying there were some queens. They just comparing all of the. I don't know if it was the English monarchs, the British monarchs. I don't recall exactly the specific
Sure.
details of this analysis they did, but they did find that queens were more likely to wage war than kings.
Okay.
Just wanted to put that in there.
Sure. I mean, are we looking at it statistically as in, I mean, let's be real, there were probably still more kings in history than there were ever queens that were
But it's
really in
it's
charge.
It's per capita.
Okay, so it is per capita.
Yeah.
Per capita. It was per capita.
Okay. I mean, I can't speak to that personally.
So
but
why would we think that men are going to start more war if women are more emotionally
Well-
volatile and less rational and less logical on average?
Well, maybe-
than-
Think about it. We're gonna have think about this, folks. Female president. Think about this. If you have a female president, female vice president, in the majority of the legislative body, female, and they decide to go to war, you think females are gonna go and just fight that war? You think they're gonna fight that war? Exactly. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next one.